There we are. So welcome everyone to another edition of Blast Bites. Today I am joined by Mhairi Maclennan. She is a very talented runner, has represented Great Britain in both cross country and on the track. And most recently, very recently in fact, just last week, Mhairi got a PB for her 5K. And I think, is it 15? I've read it down, 15:47. My goodness, Mhairi, that is speedy. It must have felt great to be racing again.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. I felt really excited to race, which for me, I think it's the first time I've been excited for a race in a really, really long time. Even before COVID, I wasn't particularly enjoying running. I was having a bit of a hard time with it. And yeah, I had this feeling that it was going to go well, but I really didn't know what well meant. Like well could have meant anywhere between underneath 16 and a half minutes to, I don't know, finishing.
Because I mean, I look back on your Power of 10 results, and in the last 4 or 5 years, you've taken about 2 minutes off. Am I right in your 5K time?
Yeah, probably about that. Yeah, I mean, I think basically in 2017, between kind of over 2016, I had a really bad injury of shin splints, and I had a really slow build up coming back, and I hadn't really done very much, particularly with track and road running. And when I came back, that was when I kind of made a big leap, I suppose. And I think that there's a lot to be said about getting a really solid training block in, because I didn't race that year from May to about October. So I had 6 to 7 months of really solid training, and I've done that again. And I think that when there are consistent races on, we get so wrapped up in racing constantly, and we want to get out there because that's why we do it. That's why we do the training, so that we can race. But I think sometimes we race at the detriment of training. And yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for getting solid blocks of training in, and I think I've shown that again.
Yeah. I mean, because I mean, you've also, I mean, your mileage. Sorry, sounds like I've been a total geek, or not geek, or I've been stalking you, but I know that you did was it 300 miles in February, March? I mean, so that's a lot of miles to get in a month.
I mean, it is, but it's actually a lot less than I've done in the past. I've never run as much as this with my new coach, but with my previous coach, I would sometimes be doing 330 to 350 miles a month. Wow. I was averaging 80 miles a week over the space, over 4 months. It wasn't just I was hitting 80 miles one week. Sure. I was really overtraining. And I think it's perfectly reasonable to expect to run that many miles, but I think you just need to kind of also make sure everything else in your life is supporting that training load, and at that time it wasn't for me. And yeah, I mean, at the moment I'm kind of sitting on anywhere between 60 and 70 miles a week. Sometimes I'm just jumping over 70, but not by much.
It just shows my naivety then, because I always thought that kind of mileage was more for your long distance, for for marathon runners, that yes, they'd be hitting the 70 miles a week. I didn't realize actually that your top 5Kers were also doing that mileage.
I mean, I think that 5K runners probably sit more on 60, which is quite common, but I'm not really predominantly a 5K runner. I'm actually training for a half marathon.
Okay.
So I mean, I did a 5K because that was the race that was available to me. Scottish Athletics didn't have a women's race for the half marathon, so I didn't do that one, which meant a change of plan. So I'm kind of still trying to keep in touch with longer sessions. So tomorrow I have a 16-mile session, but also doing faster stuff to make sure that I can also compete over 5K. Because I think at the moment, with it being, we're now within the window for Commonwealth qualifying standards, it's just kind of making sure that I have options. And just giving myself as many windows as I can.
I mean, that, because I'm not sure every athlete could go from have those opportunities or those windows from 5K all the way up to half marathon. I think it's amazing that you
well,
can be as versatile.
Like, it was really a shock that I ran as fast as I did last weekend. I really didn't expect it.
Oh, well done. And were you being pulled? Well, I'm much slower than you, but for me it always makes a difference of who's in front of me and being, in a sense, being pulled along by them. You know, obviously it was a very fast race with Beth Potter and the others, but are you on your own race, or are you aware of other runners?
So Beth was actually in a different race to me. The race organizer graded the races depending on your kind of predicted finishing time, or the time you hoped to kind of run. So I put myself in the sub 16:30 race because that's kind of where I thought I was. And there was also a sub 16 and a sub 16 for 15:30 and a sub 15 and a sub whatever. And yeah, so I just
so there was no one in front of you.
No, well there were men. So I latched on to the kind of front male group in my race, and I think I heard our first kilometre split, and then I didn't look at my watch again at all until I was kind of just rounding the last corner, and I mean, when the last corner, like the last part is still long, and in my watch said 14:35, and I was like, must be wrong. I've obviously paused it at some point. So you know, I obviously like pushed really hard, and I was in a bit of a sprint finish with this guy, but I again thought the clock was broken. So, you know,
denial.
Yeah, but I really didn't expect.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I knew that my sessions had been going well and training had been going well, and I'd gotten a solid block in and etc. But I know how hard I was training when I ran my previous PB, and I just didn't think that I was training that kind of hard. But maybe I am.
Maybe you are. Oh, well, congratulations. It's amazing. Well done. So with all those different sessions then going, you know, trying to keep 5K and half marathon, have you got a favorite session that you like to do?
I like long sessions, like anything that's long. I mean, so recently Helen has been giving me kind of longer varied sessions. So like I had a track session the other week, which was my first track session in a year and a half. I don't like track at all. But I think it was like we had 4 800s and then a 20-minute tempo in the middle, and then 4 400s at the end. So I kind of like that when you're like tapping into different speeds and stimulating in different ways. Tomorrow's similar. I have like 2 5K efforts with like pickups at the end. So I kind of like it when you're
and then because you said, so it's 16 miles overall, but you've got efforts within it.
Yeah, so I've got like a kind of, I think it's like half an hour at like 7-minute mile pace or something, and then I've got 2 5Ks at 18:40 pace, and then, or like 6-minute mile pace, and then like some efforts at the end or something like that. So I quite like those, but I also like your standard 10K sessions. If you have like, I don't know, like 6 by a K or 10 by a K or 2400s. 2400s is a great one.
24 100 meters?
No, 20 by 400 meters.
Oh, I was going to say, right, I was thinking I haven't heard of that session before. Yeah. Oh, very good. Oh, so yeah, sounds like it's a really good mix up within there. And you mentioned your new coach there. Has it been really great working with, her name escapes you. I'm so sorry.
No, yeah, it's been amazing working with Helen. She, so I've been working with her for 2 years now. I joined her around kind of February 2019. So it's amazing. I really enjoy kind of working with her. I was looking for a coach at the time who would understand an athlete for whom running was part of their life rather than their whole life. And she's just really good at kind of understanding me as a person and tailoring training to my lifestyle as well, which is what's really important.
Can I go back to something you'd mentioned in the first couple of sentences actually, and you said that you weren't always excited about races and were always looking forward to them. Is that where did that come from? Or I mean, maybe that's just normal actually. or is it? I don't know.
Well, I mean, that kind of happened more in 2019. I was actually with Helen as a coach then, but I had left my previous coach, whose license has now been suspended, and I also broke off an engagement, and my life was just a little bit upside down. Running really was taking a back seat for me, and I think that I kind of was really struggling to continue to make the sacrifices that I had made in the past and be okay with those sacrifices. And I think for me, running had always been a place perhaps where I'd channeled quite negative energy. And that can work to an extent, but I think it got to the point where running became the negative energy. And I didn't feel able to make those sacrifices anymore for something that wasn't making me happy.
No, that makes sense. Gosh, so a lot going on in the background there as well. But it sounds like you've now got a much more positive relationship with running and with the training. And would you say that, we've mentioned that COVID, I suppose, has allowed this long block of running, but would you say there's been any other change, without this year of races as such? How's it felt as an athlete to not have that competition in your life? How has it changed your view of running? Have you been running, I don't know, different, just going out running for the sake of it, for the enjoyment, or has there still been very much an end goal for you, would you say?
I mean, I think for me initially, I was almost relieved that there were no races, because I was in a place where track season was coming up and I was going out for walks. I couldn't run. And then I was going out for cycles and 20-minute jogs with my asthmatic brother who smokes, and he was beating me. So I was not in a position to be racing. So I think that initially the pandemic and kind of lockdown gave me the space that I needed to reevaluate, reassess, and sort of let the dust settle a little bit. And I know that last summer there were a couple of races, and I did try a 10K and I ran about 2 minutes slower than my PB. But at that point, I honestly was just happy to cross the line. And I think that, I think that it's given a lot of runners the space to really know what place they want running to have in their lives. And I think, as I've said before, and running is a part of who I am, of course it is, but it's not all of who I am, and I never want it to be that way again. Like, I have so many other things that I really care about and are important in my life. And I think kind of since October, not really, but November, I've kind of had my head down, and I knew that I kind of got selected onto the marathon project, and I've had that as like a wider goal that seemed really big, but races were still so far away that it gave me that bit of motivation I needed to kind of take training a little bit more seriously, and foster that positive relationship with running again.
Oh, that sounds really good. And because I know you're a PhD student, aren't you?
Yes.
Wow. Because that must be heavy going, and a Spanish tutor, is that right, at the university?
Yeah, so I'm a part-time PhD student. I teach Spanish at Edinburgh University, and I also teach maths and English to primary and secondary school kids through Kit McGrath's tuition, which is like a I've seen the signs. My kids are a bit young for it so far, but we might get there. Well, as for me.
So a lot going on otherwise.
Really a lot.
And tell me about then your preference, I suppose, between, because cross country is obviously such a different discipline to, say, track. I actually think we might have been in the same race at Stirling cross country. Must have been January, February last year, would it have been?
Yeah.
And honestly, I had no idea what I'd entered. I turned up and there's all these girls in obviously their Scottish kit or the British kit or what have you, and I'm at the back feeling very old for one thing, and feeling very, very out of place. And I think it was 3 laps of the field, you know, and my aim was for you girls at the front not to lap me. That was all I wanted. And you were close to it. You were close. You were on fire. It was, but that was a very muddy cross country. And I've done other courses that are a wee bit more through woods and things. I love running through trees. But yeah, do you enjoy the cross country season?
Cross country is my number one passion. I love it, and I will never not love it. It might come to a point where I do a lot less of it, and that point might have arrived. Just because career progression and moving on to the marathon, and there's not as much time to be able to do cross country. But cross country is where my love of running was born, and if I could do cross country forever, I probably would, but unfortunately there seems to be an end point to it.
Luckily it will be there forever, so you can always just leave it to the side for a bit, have this other journey, and then come back to it. I want to be an old lady running races. I do. I do. So cross country was where did it all start for you there? Were you cross country at school?
So I started in primary school, just at lunchtime with my school janitor, and then I joined Inverness Harriers when I was about 13, and I didn't do any track running until I was an under 20. Right. I flat out refused. I just didn't want to. I just thought there was nothing more boring, and actually I kind of still think that. I think my coach at my coach at the time wanted me to do steeplechase, and he was like, yeah, Mhairi, it's just like cross country but on the track. And I was like, okay, sounds all right.
Okay.
So I did steeplechase, but I think I was actually the only competitor in all of my races.
That's a shame. Yeah.
And it was okay. I quite enjoyed it. It was jumping over barriers, swimming in the little pond bit. It was great.
Yeah. And have you done triathlon or anything?
No. I'm not a cyclist.
No. Not for you.
Did it? Like it? No.
And outdoor swimming or open water swimming has become a huge thing over lockdown. Is it something you enjoy as well?
And I'm no.
No.
I actually have Raynaud's. I've got a bit of a condition where I lose.
Yeah.
When I put my hands in the tap. So outdoor swimming, not gonna happen.
Yeah, no, not for you. I'm just a wuss. So I don't even have Raynaud's. Maybe I should just make up that I've got Raynaud's and I can't do it. But I've had a lovely chat with you, Mhairi. I don't want to take up any more of your time. It's one of the nicest days of the year, and I'm sure you've got lots to get on with. But thank you so much for giving up your time to chat to me, and I can't wait to just watch your progression and see where the next few years takes you. And maybe we can have another Blast Bites in the future and see where you've ended up and how you're getting on. But thank you so much for your time.
No, you're welcome. Thank you.
I will.